Listen closely on a quiet night along the coast of Belitung Island, and you can hear the ocean breeze brushing against the wooden walls of a traditional stilt house. Inside, an elder named Wan Ye sits quietly, sorting a pile of small, glowing ocean pearls. Her grandson Bujang is tucked snugly into bed, though he's still wide awake, waiting for the nightly story to begin. Tonight, Bujang is looking toward the window. He wants to know about the beach outside, specifically why the massive boulders resting in the water look like someone carefully stacked them there on purpose. Wan Ye sits her pearls down and smiles. She tells him that before the first humans ever arrived on these shores, those giant gray shapes weren't actually rocks at all. As the room grows quiet, the wooden walls seem to fade away, replaced by the sound of a world much older and wilder than the one outside the window. Long ago, the island was an untouched paradise. It was a place of white sand and thick green forests, where the land and the sea lived in perfect quiet. Watching over the land was a giant named Aki Gantar. He was a creature of immense strength, and he spent his days roaming the shore, lifting heavy stones to build natural fortresses that protected the beach from the wearing tides. Aki Gantar's closest friend was a giant named Aki Lok. While Gantar worked the shore, Lok preferred the open ocean, swimming through the deep currents to keep the fish and marine life safe from sudden squalls. Every day followed the same rhythm. Gantar maintained the defenses on the sand, while Lok patrolled the sprawling waters of the sea. Between the forest's edge and the deep blue water, nothing was left unprotected. Their two worlds met at the tide line, creating a circle of safety that defined the entire island. Then, the sky turned pitch black. A storm began rolling in from the deep ocean, far larger and more violent than any they had faced before. The wind howled, and waves as tall as mature coconut trees began barreling directly toward the fragile shoreline. Standing on the beach, Aki Gantar realized his existing walls wouldn't be enough. He called out to the sea, needing his friend's help to save the island's smallest creatures. Aki Lauk plunged into the heart of the churning ocean. He used every ounce of his weight to physically push the deep underwater currents away, trying to break the wave's power before it hit the sand. Up on the beach, Aki Gantar moved in a frantic blur. He sprinted through the wind, lifting impossibly heavy granite stones and stacking them higher and higher to build a reinforced wall against the surge. The battle lasted throughout the long night. Gantar's hands were battered by the sharp edges of the rocks, and Lauk's muscles cramped in the freezing depths, but neither of them stopped. Through the wind and the salt spray, they worked in a silence that only lifelong friends understand, each pushing their body to the limit because they knew the other was doing the exact same thing. As dawn finally broke, the winds died down. The wall had held, and the creatures of the island were safe, but the two friends were completely spent. Gantar slumped onto the sandy beach, unable to move another muscle, while Lauk dragged himself into the shallow water nearby and collapsed. As the first light of the golden sun touched their exhausted bodies, they stilled entirely, permanently freezing into the stone shapes we see today. Their final resting places became the literal foundation of the island. Those massive granite structures are the giants themselves, still standing where they fell to keep the ocean at bay. Back in the stilt house, Bujang is quiet. He looks out his window toward the beach, finally understanding who is actually standing guard in the water. Wan Yai reveals one last secret. The luminous objects in her hands are actually Aki Lok's happy tears, shed at the bottom of the sea because the island remains safe. Bujang pulls his blanket up to his chin. He whispers a quiet promise to himself, hoping that he can grow up to be just as dedicated to his own friends. The storm from the story is long gone, but the friendship that stopped it remains etched into the very coastline. Sleep well, knowing that some things are built to last forever.